Predator Badlands is a 2025 American film directed by Dan Trachtenberg and stars Elle and Dimitrius Schuster-Koloamatangi. The plot follows a young yautja going on his first hunt to prove himself as he escapes his clan after being betrayed by his father. So this is the 9th film in the Predator franchise, and I'm a huge fan, I gotta say. Even if I'm not big on, like, I don't know, at least half of the series, I'll always be a fan. I saw the original film in probably the late 80s, I think it was, and instantly just became a lifelong fan. I'd already been a young Arnold Schwarzenegger fan, and to me, this was just him at his coolest. The monster, though, or the Predator, as we called it back then, I guess now you can call them yautjas, but a yautja. But we didn't say that back then. That term had not been invented. It just instantly became one of my favorite movie monsters of all time, and that since has never changed. It remains that way. The movie also blew me away, though. I mean, it was action, it was horror, it was sci-fi, it had great characters, it had a great script. It's a perfect film for what it is, and that magic would never be recreated in this franchise, which is fine. But it hasn't really been an easy franchise to be a fan of. I think a lot of us are on that boat. Lately, though, that has changed a little bit because of a man named, Dan Trachtenberg. I may not have loved Prey, but I liked it quite a bit. Either way, it was the best film in the franchise since Predator 2, in my opinion, and in the opinions of a lot of people. And as much as I did enjoy it and wanted more of it, I wasn't super sold on Badlands. I thought the trailer looked kind of like a modern Star Wars movie or something like that. Maybe kind of fun, but not really what I wanted for a Predator film. Yeah, it just had that, like, more of a sci-fi adventure type thing going on. And it is. That is what the movie is. I'd say there's zero horror elements in this movie, in my opinion. That's not to say that there isn't gore, but the horror elements that we had in, like, the first 2 films, those are gone. But somehow that doesn't matter, though, because this movie is so much fun. The horror is kind of replaced with other elements, and not only did it feel natural, but it was all explained in an effective way, which I'll get to. So the beginning of the film shows our main character, Deck, sword fighting with his older brother, Kwai. I assume that maybe they were, like, training. That's kind of what it looked like. Maybe they were sparring or whatever, although a little aggressively. But it turns out that their father had actually ordered Kwai to kill Deck. The yautja culture is very warlike, and they believe in not, having friends or showing compassion, and Deck is the smallest and weakest of his clan. And this is where I realized that this movie was going to be much better than I had expected, because when Deck realizes that his family are betraying him, it's honestly kind of heartbreaking. So Kwai ends up sacrificing himself so that Deck can get away, and he escapes to Genna, the Death Planet it's called, where he vows to hunt and kill the Kalisk, a creature that is feared by everybody. Again, I just didn't expect this kind of emotion in a Predator film, and this is like 10 minutes in, maybe? I mean, whether or not Deck thinks, he has any chance at all in this mission, he really doesn't. I don't think his exact age is ever specified, but I think he might be like a teenager. I think that would be my guess. But the way he's, set up right away as the underdog in a very effective way, it's just super solid writing. Also, this was the first Predator film, I believe, if I remember correctly, to show the yautja planet, however you say it. I do wish we spent more time there, but something tells me that we will return again. So Deck gets to the Death Planet, and it lives up to its name pretty much instantly. Just about everything there is completely hostile. So things look real bad right from the start, but he meets a damaged android, I guess they call them synthetics in this film, named Thea, played by Elle. She ends up saving him in exchange for, him helping her get her legs back, since they had been severed off at the waist in an attack. That might sound silly to you if you aren't super familiar with the Alien franchise, by the way, but like most androids in the universe, Tia is owned by the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. And I'll admit, I actually kind of liked Thea in the trailers. It seemed fun, but I wasn't really sure how I would actually feel about her in the movie in real time. Would she have worked in the original Predator film? Not a chance. But this is a far different movie. You know, as we all know, androids or I keep calling them androids, synthetics, I guess they are. I should are always important to these stories. They're always they're always like the catalyst, if you will. And Thea is actually responsible for more than that because she brings a ton of depth, like emotional depth too, and heart to this film. So she's important in multiple ways. I mean, this might sound dumb, but I really like the way that she kind of makes Deck, you know, confront his feelings, which again might sound like something that would not work in a Predator film, but it does. Regardless of his values, you know, regardless of his upbringing, you know, he just, you know, lost his brother. He had to watch him die. He was betrayed by his dad. And, you know, he was made to feel as if he had no value. They were trying to kill him. So Thea just makes him, you know, confront all of this. And I loved it. I loved it. And other than being, you know, reunited with the lower half of her body, you know, Thea wants to be reunited with Tessa, you know, basically her synthetic sister, also played by Elle Fanning. I say probably like 90% of this film is Deck and Thea, you know, on their quest, basically. And I say that, I say quest because this is also a very, this film is very video game-esque. Like video game, God, I got other, maybe like comic book and manga inspired, just inspired. And I think it totally works, man. You know, contributing to that video game feel that I was talking about is the heavy use of CGI, which has brought some criticism, you know, to this film from what I've seen so far. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I didn't really mind. I mean, I can't even believe I'm saying this. I mean, this movie is like probably 90% CGI, and for me, that does count against it a little bit. But it's so good that it compensates for it. It is able to absorb some of those, you know, some of those lesser qualities. I mean, I think ultimately the real magic of this movie is the fact that it does so many things that shouldn't work, yet somehow do. It incorporates new things instead of being pure nostalgia bait. You know, there is some fan service here, of course, but Dan Trachtenberg, I think, knows that we want more than just that, you know, and we deserve it. He even makes the PG-13 rating work, you know, yet another thing that I didn't see coming. I thought that PG-13 rating was just going to leave this dead in the water. You know, filmmaking sorcery, really, is what's going on here in a way, because, you know, there is a solid amount of blood and gore here. That there just aren't any humans. Zero human characters in this movie. So you get plenty of monsters, you know, being eviscerated, and, you know, synthetics getting decapitated instead. It's totally fine. You kind of almost don't even really think about it until you do. So yeah, man, I kind of loved this movie. You know, I liked it more than Prey, and I think I liked it. I liked it more than Romulus also. And in a weird way, this film was a breath of fresh air, and at times I got like 80s sci-fi fantasy vibes, which was really cool. But yeah, again, this won't be for everybody. It just won't be, and I do hope that you give it a chance regardless, you know, even if you think maybe it might not be for you. You never know until you try it. I did kind of get like some Mandalorian vibes here. I feel like that had to have been maybe a little bit of an influence on the story, especially with this little guy, you know, right here. Is it just me? Did anyone else get like Mandalorian vibes? I liked Mandalorian, so I guess that's okay. But I'm giving Predator Badlands a 7.5 out of 10, man. You know, there's a few familiar tropes, a few Easter eggs, you know, like the awesome nod to Aliens, which I won't spoil. The themes of being an underdog, you know, compassion and learning, you know, really worked for me, even in a fucking Predator film. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex. Subscribe right now, please.